Hello, this is Joy Hancox again, giving you a little bit more of the journey that I am following to perfection, I hope. And today I'm going to concentrate on something that I haven't talked about before, not in this kind of detail anyway. Now, my previous videos have been taking you on a journey along the books that I have already published. I'm going to just start by telling you that I've been working for a number of years on a collection of geometric drawings that came to me in 1984. Now that's over 40 years ago. Some of those drawings are to do with the Elizabethan theatres. I discovered that on my journey. It was not in evidence that when they came to me. And they are collectively referred to as sacred geometry. They were a very strange collection of patterns, and I had no idea what they were at all. Now, but along the years, over the years, I have discovered or found out or worked in such a way that they can be described and have been used for Elizabethan theatres. And one of them in particular can be, and I have used it to build a replica of the 1599 Globe Playhouse as used by Shakespeare and the Elizabethan players. Now, all this I don't want to talk about in detail, except to say that having the drawings having arrived in 1984, we are jumping now to 2019. And in 2019, that's years later, and having published most of my books, not the latest one, The Messenger, but most of my books had already been published. And yet in 2019, I received a message to say that I really should be looking at the crop circles in the south of England. That these crop circles were using, and some of them were using, or seemed to be using the same kind of geometry that this collection of strange geometric drawings were built on. Now, having been directed, as it were, and I'm using the word directed, by people that seem to know about these things, that I should be looking at crop circles in the south of England, particularly in Wiltshire and round the area of Stonehenge. Now, that didn't mean anything to me at the time because I had never studied crop circles in any way. I did not, I'd not been there, I'd not understood what they represented, not really, and I am freely admitting that. But I then started to look at them, and I could see patterns of similar geometric features that seemed to be amongst some of them that I had been drawn to my attention. Now, actually, having been alerted to this, I received, and I do receive, contacts from all over the place, and some people along the years and over the years have visited me to discuss the nature of these drawings in great detail. And I received a correspondent started to write to me from America, and he was very, very serious in his conversations, and he actually decided that he would like, having seen a film that I had been interviewed in 2013, years before, and he had seen it in America, and in that film I was discussing some of the nature of the drawings that I had used in the Globe Theatre in that program. And he actually decided that having discussed certain aspects of the drawings with me, he would like to visit me here in Manchester. I was a bit hesitant about this, but by the way, he wished to be referred to. He used a pseudonym, and his pseudonym was Carpenter. And later in my books, I needed to quote him, and he is always then referred to as the Carpenter. So actually, in this particular phone call that I'm going to describe now, I had noted that crop circle was particularly similar to some of the correspondence that he had sent by mail to me before this phone call. Because of the correspondence that we'd been having by email and then this phone call, he had sent me paperwork to do with his own philosophy, to do with the geometry, to do with the crop circles. And actually, I recognized some of it, and during the phone call when he was proposing a visit, I asked him if he had got anything to do with the construction of crop circles. He answered me very respectfully and courteously, but later that day, the same day, he sent me an email that explained more to the point of what the question was that I asked him. He was saying something absolutely dramatic to me, and he referred to himself as an emissary, and also that he was connected with the alien race. And I found that absolutely amazing and could not understand it. And that is why I included it in its entirety in the Messenger book. And I gave him the opportunity to change it, alter it, or for me to leave it out. And he said, I can't do that. And when I realized that he was absolutely serious about what he has sent to me, I said, well, I will include it, but you are accountable for what you say. They have spoken to me, and now they speak to you. As you know, I am an emissary, as I have said, a fledgling blue in the world of aliens. I had to learn galactic, and to you they speak in symbolic logic. Write down your geometrical alley. I have to say now that at this point I found it difficult, very, very difficult, to accept that they were talking to me, an alien race. I was absolutely speechless at that declaration to me at that time. So I started to study the crop circles very, very carefully. Every time a crop circle appeared, I didn't go to see them personally. I just watched them on my computer as they appeared on YouTube, and diligently started to look where they were, who owned the fields, and studied the geometry very, very carefully. And gradually I began to see and witness coincidences that seemed to match certain scholarship that I had discovered to do with the drawings and to do with my work. For instance, the Pembroke family owned an estate in Wiltshire, and their family home it was called Wilton Estate, and it dated back to the Elizabethan period. And the Pembrokes, of course, were very, very strongly connected, and in fact the first folio of Shakespeare's plays are dedicated to the 3rd and 4th Earl of Pembroke. And their headquarters, as it were, family home, was down there in Wiltshire. And actually, crop circles began to appear in connection with that site. I've recounted certain incidents from the past, and I now want to take us to this year. And I doubt that there will be many viewing this film that will not be aware that Steven Spielberg brought out a film called Disclosure Day in the first part of the year. In fact, I think it was the spring, actually. And so I was obviously aware that this film was going to be coming out, and actually he did decide, that Spielberg, to use a feature of a crop circle in it. And I do not necessarily have conversations with the American Carpenter. I don't speak to him on the phone very often, but he did send me a notice about an academic that had been interviewed in America about Steven Spielberg's film. And Carpenter suggested that I should look at that interview, and I did, and his name was Professor Gary Nolan, and he was a professor at the Stanford University in America. And this film that Carpenter suggested that I should look at, and we looked at it, members of my team looked at it with me on an occasion, and I was very impressed by the scholarship that he used in defining the content of Spielberg's film. So much so that I started to study Gary Nolan and looked at his past. I am going to read a quote from a past record of his that I think is worthy of my comment now. During May 2023 Salt Eye Connections conference in Manhattan for an interview with Alex Clokas titled "The Pentagon, Extraterrestrial Intelligence and Crashed UFOs." And in that, Nolan claimed that some governments have retrieved artifacts from extraterrestrial craft, said that he gives the probability as 100% that extraterrestrials have not only visited Earth, but have been visiting Earth for a long time, and speculated that what has visited Earth are simply emissaries and possibly drones. When I saw the word emissaries in that quote, as said by Gary Nolan, I was absolutely amazed, because Carpenter was using the word emissary, etc., etc., in his own description and email to me. That reference of Gary Nolan's made me look at the correspondence and connections that Carpenter was writing to me about in a very different way. And I became very, very concerned for him in his correspondence to me. And I wanted to treat it all very, 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 very seriously. Now, I have said that we're talking about this year, 2026, because this is when Spielberg's film came out, and that was when I was referenced to Professor Gary Nolan. In 2026, there have been several crop circles have appeared, and in some of them over the years I have been able to relate my own work as though they were in common with some of the crop circles' timing as they appeared. And I have acknowledged that Carpenter seems to have been in contact with me around the time of their appearance. Now, this year I have not been able to keep pace with the rapidity of the appearance of crop circles that have almost appeared in recent weeks daily. And I have not been able to handle the familiarity of some of them and look into the background of their provenance. And I do know that, and I have come to learn that commercially there are companies that artificially have staff that can create a crop circle. This is nothing is new to me, and it's not part of my scholarship that I should quote and look into all of that. But I am going to mention a recent crop circle that has appeared only recently on the 11th of July, and its title is The Cosmic Chicken Crop Circle. And that appeared in Roundway Hill in Wiltshire. Now, that is very, very meaningful to me and alerted me immediately to video 14, where I was talking about and have talked about Francis Bacon having a son. And we discussed in that video the meaningful quotes from the Champions reference, and actually Francis Bacon, when he contrived his own death on the 9th of April 1626, 400 years ago, the publicity said that he died of a chill, having worked on a chicken experiment with frozen ice. And that is the designated reason for his death, supposed death as I know it, because he went to Nuremberg and didn't die on that date, but that was what the publicity said. And here we have, in July, a chicken crop circle. I think that is very, very meaningful because it appeared after video 14. Can I introduce you now to a very, very significant person, the elected architect for the New Globe, which was opened in 1997, and he was the architect of a pentagram, part ownership, and he was Theo Crosby. And Theo Crosby became a very, very significant part of my researches. I met Theo Crosby with some of the drawings that I had used with the New Globe of my design. And I'm going to introduce a letter. This is not the first letter, but a letter that he wrote to me part way in the planning of the New Globe's design as opened in 1997. Theo Crosby was the elected architect by Sam Wanamaker to create the design courtesy of the academic board, and he was the person that was responsible for, if you like, my meeting with him with the drawings that I had decided were really should have been used in that design. Theo Crosby and I became regular correspondents, and I did meet him and take some of the drawings, and I did eventually show him the model that, and the model is here, that I created based on the drawings as I interpreted them, not really as realizing that they were originally the concept of John Dee. And now, can I show you the original globe as constructed by my brother, in fact, my late brother Malcolm, who was very, very skilled and helped me to make a polished version. I'd already made one that was a bit amateur, but he constructed this according to my measurements, and I would like you to see it because he's no longer with us, and he's not able to demonstrate it and show it as his own skilled work. This is his polished interpretation of the detail of the globe as it should have been. So now we're going to take you inside the globe. So that you can see the stage and the seating, and you can see the canopy that above the stage that has a hole in it, and this is clearly stated in the drawings. That, and what happened was that the actors used to come out of the second story and walk onto the canopy and would descend through the hole onto the stage to perform whatever they were designated to perform. And now you will also see the inverted roof, which I've asked the film company to demonstrate, because I wanted you to see the structure of the roof and to know that the carpenters at that time in constructing that did not use a single nail. We have illustrations which are in the back of the Byrom collection book that show the construction of the roof. I need to introduce a letter that Theo Crosby sent to me. Dear Joy, you will be amused at the latest convolution of the globe plot. We have been through the archaeology and the construction tests, and the enclosed plan shows the probable stage house. I am interrupting my own reading of this because really it was called the tiring house. And he goes on to say in his letter, for which there is no archaeological evidence. Now, you will see that I have borrowed your Byrom collection drawings and fused it somewhat with what we have been given from other sources. I hope you will approve. With all good wishes, Theo. And this letter was dated the 8th of January 1993. Unfortunately, Theo died in 1994, and that was before the globe was officially built completely, because it was opened in 1997. And by that time, Sam Wanamaker had died, and the architect-elect by Sam Wanamaker had also died. But that letter proves to me that the tiring house drawing was used, and for which I have never been acknowledged, and that tiring house is the replica of the Ark of the Covenant that George Sassoon crop circle represents. And so that crop circle that was situated on the side or near to George Sassoon's residence, and he was responsible for saying in his own work, The Manna Machine, that the Ark of the Covenant had got nuclear participants in it and was used biblically in, if you like, the new globe design, and should have been. And then, of course, very quickly afterwards, if the Ark of the Covenant housed the Ten Commandments, and shortly after the appearance of the George Sassoon, if you like, crop circle near his Sutton Vene home, the crop circle of that could be said of the Ten Commandments appeared close by. Actually, when Theo Crosby acknowledged to me in that letter that the stage house, and I call it the tiring house, was going to be absorbed and used in the building of the new globe, he was actually confirming that the crop circle that had appeared in Sutton Vene, that I should have said earlier, and I apologise for not saying it, the proportion of the drawing in the Byrom collection for that building was exactly the same proportionately as the Ark of the Covenant. This is the point. the measurements were proportionately the same for both. And I need to say this because, if you like, the Ark of the Covenant housed the Ten Commandments. And actually, shortly after the crop circle that had appeared as a representation of George Sassoon's manna machine, which talked about the Ark of the Covenant, what we have then is a crop circle that appeared, in my opinion, shortly afterwards, and it was of a 10 symbol crop circle with 10 symbols of it, which I consider represents the 10 commandments, which were housed in the Ark of the Covenant. It is known biblically that that is where they rested. And in that crop circle, it was, if you like, approving of what had been done before, and it was a message. I saw it as and interpreted it as a message to me at that time. And I firmly believe that. And actually, the interpretation and reflection of George Sassoon's manna machine and his interpretation of the crop circle and that world of science is a confirmation to me that everything is from above. From above, we were being approved of and noted that we were recording that. And I think it's quite simple, really. We are not alone. And really, I have to confirm that this video has been symbolic in that I have to confirm that I think that there is an alien race, and I think that the carpenter, I'm calling him the carpenter, is, from my opinion, the ringmaster of my story. Just before we finish this video, I need to add a PS. It's a sort of a PS. Earlier we had spoken about the chicken crop circle. It had included a cosmic chicken in its title. I have to say that this very morning, as we complete this filming, I noticed on my computer that in exactly the same place, or at the side of this video, another crop circle has appeared this very morning. And when I looked at it with absolute surprise, it is side by side to the cosmic chicken in the same field. And when I looked at it closely, if I add the little diamonds within it, is 13 plus 13, and that's 26. And I had already said earlier that Francis Bacon had constructed his own demise in 1626, and here we are with crop circle side by side to the chicken that I'd already identified him with. And there it is, 26 within a circle. I don't think that's an accident. And on that note, I will truly say, until next time, bye-bye.